Okay, so good evening, class. So, in this time, we will be discussing or the continuation of the percentage tax. So, previously, na-discuss na natin yung other sections regarding sa percentage tax ending with overseas communication tax. So, this time, continue lang tayo starting with gross receipts tax. So, under section 121, if you look sa book natin, so our reference is still the same, no? The book of Sir San Jose, Attorney San Jose, and Attorney Ortega. So in section 121, so sabi dito, it is, under this is the tax on banks and non-bank financial intermediaries performing quasi-banking function. So pag sinabing quasi-banking functions, ano ba yung tinutukoy doon? So let's define here. So quasi-banking activities, these are the borrowing of funds from 20 or more personal or corporate lenders at any one time through issuance, endorsement, or acceptance of debt instruments of any kind other than deposits for borrowers' own account, issuance of certificates with recourse of repurchase agreement for purposes of free lending or purchasing receivables and other similar obligations. So, ang pinaka-importante sa term na to is yung borrowing of funds from 20 or more personal or corporate lenders. So, if you still remember, nung na-discuss natin before sa income tax, diba meron tayo dun yung 20 or more, yung 19 lender rule, na kapag 20 or more, ibig sabihin, under na yun ng public. If less than that, ibig sabihin, hindi siya public. No? So, yun yung quasi-banking activity or function natin. So, under this, we have under Section 121, we have the banks and the non-bank financial intermediaries. So pag sinabing bank, alam na naman natin yun, these are the entities engaged in lending funds obtained in deposit forms. Diba kaya sa banko lagi may deposits or ano lang, mga time deposits, etc. Savings accounts, kasi yun yung ginagamit nila para makapagpautang. While sa non-bank financial intermediaries naman, ito naman yung mga entities whose their financial functions include lending, investing, or placement of funds or evidences of indebtedness or equity deposited with them, acquired by them, or coursed through them, either for their own account or for the account of others. So, kaya may term na intermediary kasi parang sila nag intervene between two or more parties. So, yun yung non-bank financial intermediaries. So, under this, gross receipts tax, so, under gross receipts tax, ano ba yung mga tax basis natin dito? So, meron tayong tax basis dito. First is yung kapag merong interest. Kasi di ba pag nagpapautang ka, you have the interest. So, si interest, subject siya sa percentage tax depending on the maturity period. So, kapag 5 years or less, mas mataas yung rate, which is 5%. While kapag more than 5 years naman, yung maturity period nung certain na pinautang na may nag-earn ng interest is 1% lang yung percentage tax niya. Okay? So, next to that, so meron din tayo under ng banks and non-bank financial intermediaries. So, syempre, meron din naman silang na-earn through, meron din sila earn na dividends and equity shares and net income in subsidiaries. So, kapag dividends and equity shares, ito naman wala siyang percentage tax, kaya 0% tayo dan. And other two items is first is yung other income. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya dividend, hindi siya interest. So, other income like royalties and rentals. So, ito naman, pag under other income ng banks and non-bank financial intermediary, 7% naman yung percentage tax nila. And last item is kapag net trading gain. So, kapag meron silang gains from trading, so sabi dito, 7% daw ang magiging ano naman natin. So, sabi dito, ano ba yung net trading gains? So, sabi dito, net trading gains within the taxable year of foreign currency, debt securities, derivatives, and other similar financial instruments. Kapag meron ka daw trading gains from that, yun daw ay subject sa 7% natin na percentage tax. Kapag loss, edi wala, hindi siya subject sa GRT or any deduction kasi nga, net trading gain lang yung nasabi nating tax base that. So we have here an example sa book na reference natin under page 221. So for example, we have BDO, a domestic bank. Meron daw silang following receipts for the month of January. So first natin is, pag meron daw rentals from safety deposit boxes. So sabi na rentals. So saan siya nagfa-fall? Doon siya nagfa-fall sa second to the last item natin, which is the other income. Ibig sabihin, subject sa 7%. So, kung 100,000 yung rentals from security or safety deposit boxes, edi 100,000 times 7%. Kasi nga other income yun. Yun yung percentage tax, which is called gross receipts tax in this case. Now, so next, service fee. So, saan siya magpa-fall? So, doon pa rin siya magpa-fall sa other income natin. So, subject pa rin siya sa 7% if ganun yung item. Next, for example, meron daw dividends, equity shares. So, na-mention natin, yun ay exempt sa GRT. So, 0% ang gross receipts tax niya regarding that. And then next to that, meron daw item na interest received from lending activities net of gross receipts tax with maturities of more than 5 years and then less than 5 years. So, yung more than 5 years, so na-mention natin dan, 1% subject siya. While si less than 5 years naman, siya ay subject sa 5%. Okay? So, ganun lang siya. And then, kapag may trading gain, edi 90,000. So, edi 90,000 yon. So, kung 90,000 yon, subject siya sa 7%. Okay? While kapag trading loss naman, sabi pala 'di ba, net trading gain. Ibig sabihin pag meron kang other items, so kuwari meron kang trading gain, may trading loss, may trading gain uli. So you have to sum it all up and then the net value would be the subject to percentage tax. So kung wari, yung net trading gain 90,000 and then yung loss na 100,000. So if you deduct it, ibig sabihin hindi siya net trading gain, ang meron ka ay net trading loss. Kung may net trading loss, wala kang i-multiply sa 7% kasi the result should be the net trading gain for it to be subject to 7%. So kapag mas malaki si loss and then nagkaroon ng net trading loss, that would be not subject to gross receipts tax. So we already mentioned the term gross receipts tax. So 'di ba, ang percentage tax basically siya ay deductible sa atin kasi siya ay hindi naman pinapasa sa ano natin sa customer, kung sino man, yung pinagmumulan ng income natin. So, may mga instances kasi na yung gross receipts tax, pwede pala siyang ipasa. So, paano pag pinasa siya? Anong magiging treatment? So, sabi dito, kapag pinast on mo daw yung certain na GRT, ang treatment sa kanya ay magiging other fees and charges na magiging subject uli sa 7% na GRT. Okay. For example, meron daw no, nagkaroon ka ng interest from your lending activities. And then, sabi dito, meron ka daw doon na 330,000 na base and then ang rate niya ay 5% kasi 5 years or less yung maturity. So, pag multiply mo yun, ibig sabihin, ang GRT niya ay 1.5. So, yung 1.5 na yun, kung ipapass on mo siya dun sa pinag-earnan mo ng interest, so yung pag pinast on mo siya, yung 1.5 na yon, you have to multiply it again sa 7%. Kasi nga, ang passed on GRT will be treated as other fees and charges na magiging subject pa rin uli sa ating other income, like sa dito sa term na to. Pag nagkaroon ka ng other fees and charges, papasok yan dito sa other income, royalties, rentals, etc. na magiging subject sa 7%. So, kaya kung may 1.5 ka na GRT na pinast on mo, so yung 1.5 na yun, multiply mo uli siya sa 7% for the GRT subject. No? Okay? So, malinaw tayo doon. So, moving forward, so under pa rin ng Section 121, so wala lang ako sa slide dito. So, may mga instances kasi, di ba, na-mention natin, meron tayong interest na nakabase sa maturity period. What if maaapektuhan si gross receipts tax kasi yung certain loan ay pin-re-terminate. Ibig sabihin, before maturity, nagkaroon ng pagta-terminate ng loan na yon. So, pag ganun yung scenario, ano magiging basis natin ng percentage doon? Pag mag-GRT tayo. So, sabi din sa book natin, ang basis daw natin doon is, ang maturity date natin is as if yung date na nag-pre-terminate. Okay? So, as of that date, yun yung marerecon na end or maturity date nung certain na loan na yon. So, for example, page 222 sa book reference natin. For example, Luffy obtained a bank loan from BPI Manila, okay, for 10 million with a maturity of 8 years. So, kung 8 years yon, di ba, generally 1% dapat subject siya, di ba, kung yun yung kasi yun yung loan. So, at a rate of 6% per annum. Ibig sabihin ng interest nila ay 6% per annum on starting January 1, 2020. So, on February 28, 2023, ibig sabihin after 2 years ay 2023, 21, 22. So after 3 years and 2 months, pin-re-terminate daw yung loan. Ibig sabihin, tinapos na even before the maturity date. So assuming that BPI paid the correct GRT in the previous years, kasi nga every year naman meron siyang interest na subject sa GRT, di ba? Assuming na binayaran naman daw correspondingly yung previous GRT for the last 3 years, ano daw yung magiging GRT to be paid in the year 2023? So let's look into it muna. So sabi dito, ang kung 'di ba initially kung less than 5 years, kasi 'di ba ang mangyayari 8 years dapat siya, subject dapat sa 1%. Pero since nag-pre-terminate, ibig sabihin ang pinakaano natin, less than na ng 5 years. Kasi sabi dito, diba, 3 years and 2 months, terminate mo siya. Ibig sabihin, it's as if yung maturity period niya ay 3 years and 2 months, which is 5 years or less na subject sa 5%. So, kung ganun yung scenario, so kung 10 million yung loan times 6%, so ang interest niya annually ay 600,000. So, kung 600,000 yon and then naging less than 5 years na yung maturity, so subject na dapat yun sa 5% per year, di ba? So, 600,000 times 5%, that would be 30,000. And then, yung 30,000 na yun, multiply natin sa 3 years kasi 'di ba 3 years na lang yung ano natin, dapat na binayaran na GRT. So, dapat ang binayaran pala na GRT for the last 3 years, since na pre-terminate nga, so 90,000 dapat yon. So, 90,000. Pero initially, magkano kaya yung binayaran niya for the last 3 years, not knowing na magkakaroon ng pre-termination? So, sabi doon, 600,000, di ba, yung interest annually. So, kung hindi alam na i-pre-terminate, ibig sabihin na nagbayad ng GRT, ang basis natin doon is tong 1%. So, 600,000 times 1%, so 6,000 yung GRT mo for the last 3 years. So, 6,000 times 3 years, ibig sabihin, ang binayaran mo as if nung last 3 years, nung hindi ka pa nagpe-terminate ay 18,000. So, kung 90,000 dapat yung babayaran kasi nga nag-pre-terminate, less 18,000, ibig sabihin, 72,000 pala, kulang pa ng 72,000 na payment si bank and non-bank financial intermediary. So, ibig sabihin, 72,000 pa yung dapat niya bayaran this year. And at the same time, kailan nga ulit nagkaroon ng pre-termination? February 28. So, ibig sabihin, meron pa siyang percentage tax or GRT or gross receipts tax for the first 2 months. Okay? Kasi kailangan natin mag-prorate. Kasi yung 3 years na na-compute natin kanina is para sa last 3 years yun. Di ba 3 years and 2 months nga yung nag-earn ng interest. So, yung meron tayong kakomputin pa for the current year for the 2 months. Ibig sabihin, kung 2 months lang naman yun, di 600,000 per yung interest, multiply by 2/12 kasi 2 months lang naman. So, ibig sabihin, 5,000 yung magiging ano natin doon, yung GRT for the current year. Kasi 'di ba 600,000 yon times 2/12, that would be 100,000. Eh, di ba 1% lang yung pagka less than 5 years? So, ibig sabihin, 5% rather. So, 100,000 times 5%. So, kaya 5,000 yung nakalagay sa libro natin. Kasi 100,000 yung interest for the 2 months times 5%. Kasi 5 years or less na yung pre-termination. So, 5,000 yung i-add natin. So, ibig sabihin, for the current year, ang kailangan pala niyang bayaran na GRT ay 77,000 given those scenario na nangyari previously for the last 3 years and 2 months. Okay? So, yun yung under natin ng Section 121. Okay? So, moving forward, next naman tayo is si Section 122. So, si Section 122, basically, mostly, same length din naman sila is 121. So, si 121 lang kasi ay performing quasi banking functions na non-bank, financial intermediary, tsaka bank. So, ito kasi finance company siya, ibig sabihin mas malawak. Hindi siya limited sa quasi banking function ng non-bank tsaka bank banking companies. So, si finance company, so sila din daw ay merong percentage tax. So, meron daw tax on other non-bank financial intermediary or other term for it is finance companies. So, same with Section 121, meron din silang interest earned from lending activities na based sa maturity period yung percentage tax. So, same din siya ng rate kanina. Pag more than 5 years, mas maliit. Pero pag less than 5 years, 5 years or less ay 5% yung ano niya, yung tax rate. So same din nung kanina natin. And then kanina kung yung other income 7%, so dito naman sa under section 122 is ang other income naman niya ay 5%. Okay, so ganun din siya. Same lang din nung nangyari kanina. Okay? So, moving forward, proceed tayo sa section 123. So, i-skip na natin yung samples for that kasi same lang naman siya ng theory nung sa section 121 natin. No? Same lang siya ng pagka-compute din. So, moving forward, proceed naman tayo sa section 123, which is term for this is premium tax. Bakit premium tax? Kasi it is the tax on life insurance premiums. Okay? Take note, ang term dito ay premiums. Okay? And then nakalagay life insurance. So, ito, basically dito lang yung focus ng section 123. So, under this, ang tax base daw is kung magkano yung premiums na nakolekta ni insurance company. Kasi sino ba nagkakaroon ng premiums na nagko-collect? Di ba yung insurance company? So, yun daw, mayroon tax rate, meron daw percentage tax for life premiums collected, life insurance premiums collected by the insurance company. Magkano daw or ilang percent daw? So, we have 2% daw. Okay, 2% daw yan. Pero take note of this. So sabi dito, ayan, shall be collected from every person, a percentage tax of 2% shall be collected from every person, company, or corporation except kapag purely cooperative companies or association daw, doing life insurance business of any sort in the Philippines. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kapag purely cooperative or association and company, so hindi siya, exclusion siya dito sa section 123 na to. Okay? So, so basically, dapat alam natin sa mga premiums collected, ano ba yung hindi dapat kasama sa gross receipts na pagkokomputan natin ng 2% na yan. So, as mentioned sa book natin, meron daw tayong mga certain exclusions from gross receipts regarding insurance premium. So, first natin doon is kapag meron daw premiums na ni-refund within 6 months after payment on the account of rejection of risk or return for other reason to a person insured shall not be included in the taxable receipt. So, kapag meron ka doon na-receive na premium, tapos, ang sabi dito, ni-refund mo daw within 6 months after payment, so malamang kailangan mo exclude yon kasi in effect, kumbaga parang binalik na yon, binalik mo yon sa kanya. So, dapat hindi siya kasama sa masasubject sa 2%. So, exclusion din daw yon. Second is reinsurance premium. So, reinsurance premium, so no tax to be paid upon reinsurance by a company that has already paid the tax. Kasi since, in effect, parang reinsurance premium lang siya. So, in effect, meron talaga siya nabayaran pang tax initially for that. So, yung reinsurance premium, excluded yon sa gross receipts subject to 2%. Next is, kapag, yeah, so sabi dito, if ang insured daw ay non-resident, hindi din daw yon dapat kasama sa gross receipts. Kasi, in effect, kung ang insured ay non-resident, ibig sabihin, parang outside na yun ng, ano natin, di ba? Outside na yun ng Philippines talaga. So, in effect, ang pinaka-ano natin doon is hindi dapat siya kasama sa tataksa ng 2%. Okay? Fourth natin is, in excess of amounts necessary to insure lives. So sabi dito, dapat daw hindi kasama sa taxable receipts yung portion ng premiums collected or received ni insurance company on variable contracts. Ibig sabihin, malamang meron sila nare-receive na premium pero may part doon na pang life insurance is and then yung ibang part hindi na pang life insurance. Okay? Kapag ganun daw yung scenario, sabi dito, yung excess daw para dun sa excess in excess dun sa pinaka-amount na kailangan lang naman para ma-insure yung life, yun daw ay magiging, in effect, excluded natin sa gross receipts kasi ang tinutukoy lang nga natin dito, life insurance. Okay? So, sabi doon, hindi daw kasama yon. Yeah, so, in excess of amounts necessary to insure lives of the variable contract workers would be excluded from the gross receipts subject to 2%. Next, management fees, rental income, or any other income earned by life insurance companies from services which can be pursued independently of the insurance business activity shall not be included in the gross receipts. Dapat di siya kasama. Kasi nga, again, ang pinaka-main focus natin dito is yung related talaga sa life insurance. Now, and then lastly ay investment income. So, investment income, siya, di ba si life insurance policy, life insurance company, pag naka-earn siya, so syempre yung mga excess cash niya, gagamitin niya yung pag-invest para mas mapalago niya yung pera niya at yun yung maibibigay niya if ever nagkaroon ng accidents or insurance claims. So, yung mga investment income niya for the investments na pag-iinvestan niya, for the earning, so for their own earning. So, yun po ay excluded din dito kasi again, pinaka-focus lang natin, total premiums collected. So, investment income, totally dapat di siya kasama doon. Na? So, for example, tayo, page 224, for example, a corporation, an insurance company, doing business in the Philippines had the following receipts for the year. So, kung medyo mabilis ako magsalita, pabagalan na lang ako nung speed sa YouTube. Okay? So, moving forward, so sa unang item daw, meron daw premium sa life insurance na 1 million na mentioned sa problem, 200,000 daw doon ng premiums which were refunded after 2 months due to rejection of risk. So, nakakolekta ka ng 1 million pero yung 200,000 din daw doon after 2 months ay ibinalik. So, ibig sabihin, kasama siya dito sa exclusion sa gross receipts na refunded within 6 months. Ibig sabihin, 1 million minus 200,000, 800,000 lang dapat yung subject mo dyan sa premium tax. Next, premiums collected from health insurance. So, kasama ba yon? So, kasama pa rin po yung health insurance kasi related din yun sa ating life insurance. So, in that case, premiums collected from health insurance, so 1 million, kasama din yun sa taxable natin. Okay? Next, premiums collected in insurance policy covering the buildings of insured. So, ang tinutukoy dito na premiums na kolekta mo regarding sa insurance policy for the building. So, hindi siya for the life. Okay? So, kaya yung 4 million, hindi natin siya isasama kasi hindi siya life insurance. Okay? Okay, next, management fees collected for consultation services rendered to other clients. So, management fees, na-mention natin yan kanina na hindi siya dapat kasama kasi hindi naman siya life insurance premium. So, 3 million excluded din kasi hindi naman siya life insurance premium. So, ang kasama lang natin yung premiums in life insurance na 1 million less yung 200 na refunded. And then, pati yung premiums collected from health insurance, kasama din yun. So, we have 1.8 million times 2%. So, ibig sabihin, 36,000 yung premium tax natin for that, for section 123. Okay? So, next tayo, section 124 na tayo. So, next naman natin ay tax on agents of foreign insurance companies. Okay? So, sabi dito, ang owner daw, the owner of the property may apply for and obtain fire. So, meron kasing ganun, di ba? Pag meron ka mga property, you can apply for insurance for that. Para if ever nagkaroon ng fire, any accidents, you have a claim for that. So, sabi dito, an owner of a property may apply for and obtain fire, marine, or miscellaneous insurance from a foreign company through an agent or directly from foreign companies. Ibig sabihin daw, pwede ka magkaroon ng insurance, directly ka mag-connect sa foreign company, insurance company, or dadaan ka pa sa agent para sila rin yung makikipag-usap sa foreign company. So, ganun daw yung dalawang scenario doon. So, in such a case, the following premiums tax will apply. Okay, doon tayo sa una. So, ito ay premium tax pa din, pero for agents naman of foreign insurance companies. So, una tayo. So, sabi dito, authorized, those authorized under insurance code to procure, pag sinabing procure, to purchase, to procure policies of insurance for companies not authorized to transact business in the Philippines. So, kapag ganito din yung scenario, ang tax base natin, ganun pa rin naman, total premiums collected, ang tax rate natin ay 4%. Okay? Per percent na yun. Kapag si insurance agent ay authorized under insurance code para mag-purchase ng policies para sa mga companies na not authorized to transact business here in the Philippines. Okay? Okay. So, moving forward, so 4% yon, and then ang tax base ay premiums collected. Next naman natin ay owners of property obtaining insurance directly. So, kung kanina dumaan pa ng agent, ito namang pangalawa ay dumiretso na siya ng bili no insurance from a foreign insurance company. So, kapag ganito yung scenario, kailangan mong i-report. Okay? Kailangan i-report ni owner yung insurance na yon kasi in effect parang nag-direct siya sa foreign company, insurance company. So, reportable yung insurance na yon and dapat, yan. So, sabi dito, BIR, siya ay dapat ano din kay BIR Commissioner. So, sabi dito, wait lang. So, may pinaka-term. May term tayo dyan eh. Okay. So, sabi dito, we're the owners. Ayan. Ang tawag kasi doon, direct foreign insurance kapag di ka na dumaan sa agent. So, pag meron ka daw direct foreign insurance, in all cases where owners obtain insurance directly with foreign, so sabi dito, duty daw nila to report to the insurance commissioner. Ayan. So, reportable siya insurance commissioner tsaka kay BAR commissioner in each case where insurance has been so affected and shall pay tax of 5%. So, pag nag-direct siya ng acquire or procure ng insurance from a from a foreign insurance company, they are required to report kay BAR commissioner and kay insurance commissioner after effecting that certain insurance. And dapat bayaran niya yung 5% na tax rate. Na, ang tax base niya ay kung magkano yung premiums na binayaran niya. Okay? So, kung kanina, si insurance agent, yung magbabayad nung 4% kasi siya yung naka-receive, nakakolekta eh. So, kapag direct fired insurance naman, since si owner na nga yung nagbayad, and then si foreign insurance, the company, hindi naman siya yung pabayad ng tax kasi foreign nga sila, 'di ba? So ibig sabihin, dito sa pangalawang scenario, premiums paid, kung magkano yung premium na binayaran ni owner, no, kay foreign insurance company, 5% nun, tax. Yun yung tax niya. And then dapat i-report niya kay insurance commissioner tsaka BIR commissioner yung certain na effective affected na direct foreign insurance na yan. Okay? Kaya yung dalawa yung scenario din. Collected kasi si agent nagko-collect kay insured, and then total premiums paid yung sa pangalawa kasi si foreign insurance company na yung pinagbayaran niya eh. So siya na mismo yung mag-shoulder nung ano niya, ng premium ng tax niya mismo, si owner na dumirekta, no? So for example, page 225 tayo, an agent of a foreign insurance company had the following receipts for the year 2023. So premiums in fire insurance of 1 million, so ganun pa rin, includes 200,000 insurance premium. So and then premiums collected from property insurance, we have 1 million. So, ganito yung nangyari. Meron daw agent no, na nag-collect. So, take note ha, ang sinabi dito, insurance lang. Hindi naman sinabing kailangan life insurance. So, moving forward, so in addition, Luffy obtained directly from a foreign insurance company. So, yung dalawa kanina, dumaan pa ng agent, yung tig 1 million. And then, tong additional scenario is obtained directly na from a foreign insurance company ng life, non-life for his building located in Manila. And then, ang binayaran niya daw ay 2 million. So, pag tinanong, how much is the premium tax on the insured procured through an agent? So, kung agent pa lang, so dalawa pa lang yun, yung kanina natin. Yung fire insurance, na 1 million, tsaka yung premiums collected from property na 1 million. So, ito, hindi kailangan na life insurance siya. So, kaya yung 1 million na yun, tsaka yung 1 million kasama parehas, subject siya sa 4% na tax natin. Pero, kailangan din natin ibawas pa rin yung reinsurance, as mentioned nung kanina. Ganun din. Kailangan mo siya ibawas na. So, 1.8 times 4%, so 70,000 yung sagot sa unang scenario. Next scenario, magkano naman daw yung premium tax on the direct foreign insurance, yung direkta na. So, sabi dito, total premiums paid times 5%. Magkano ba yung binayaran niya daw? 2 million. E di 2 million times 5%. Yun na yung premium tax natin on that case na dapat i-report niya kay BAR tsaka insurance commissioner. Okay? Next tayo, Section 125. So Section 125. So these are all about the amusement taxes naman on proprietors of amusement places. So we have here different rates and different receipts from different types of amusement places. So, dun muna tayo sa definition natin. So, sabi dito, proprietors, sabihin yung may-ari, yung lessee or yung nagre-renta or operators or nag-ooperate ng mga following amusement places shall pay the respective amusement taxes. So, tax base natin for all this is gross receipts, and then ang rate naman natin ay yan, correspondingly. So, doon na tayo sa unang mataas na rate, which is si 18%. So, sa 18%, sino ba yung subject doon? So, ang mga subject doon, yung mga medyo matataas na ano no na high level na mga amusement places. So nandoon yung mga cockpits or yung mga sabungan, yung mga cabarets, nightclubs or day clubs, karaoke bars, TV, ano yan? Ba't may TVA? Ano yan? Wait lang. TV, okay. Karaoke bars, ba't ganun? Wait lang. TV, karaoke boxes. Okay, wait lang. Okay, so yan nga. So cabarets, night or day clubs, karaoke bars, TV and karaoke boxes, and music lounge. So yung mga item na yan ay sila yung mga subject sa 18% natin na amusement tax. Okay, which is a type of percentage tax. Okay? So next to that is yung ano natin, boxing exhibition. So sa boxing exhibitions, sila daw ay subject sa 10% naman. Kung ano yung mga receipts niya for the amusement place like boxing exhibition, 10% daw yung tax rate doon. And then sabi dito, may exception naman daw. So hindi lahat ng boxing exhibition subject sa 10%. So may exception tayo, except those for kumpara daw sa World or Oriental Championship na at least one for world champ is a Filipino citizen and are promoted by Filipino citizen or Philippine or domestic corporation of at least 60% of capital are owned by Filipino citizen. So, take note ha, yung mga exception na to, dapat all of that are present. So, dapat for ano siya, for World Oriental Championship na at least isa doon na lalaban sa World Champ ay Filipino citizen and pinapromote siya ng Filipino citizen or corporation na may at least 60% of capital are owned by Filipino citizen. So in effect, parang may tatlo tayong ano, tatlo siyang tatlong criteria. So, for World Championship, at least one participant ay Filipino citizen for World Champ. And then third, promoted by Filipino citizen. Kung hindi naman Filipino citizen, edi corporation na at least 60% ay ng capital ay owned by Filipino citizen. So, 10% yon kapag ganun yung scenario natin. Okay? And then, next natin, professional basketball games. So, yung professional basketball games, ang nakalagay dyan, ito ay in line of all other percentage tax rather. So, pag professional basketball game, in line na yun sa lahat ng other percentage tax. Wala ka nang kailangang i-base pa sa kanya na percentage tax. So, ito daw ay 15%. Subject siya sa 15% naman. And then kapag high ally and racetrack naman, so ito yung pinakamalaki sa kanilang lahat, which is 30% naman yung tax rate niya. Now, okay? So, moving forward, so kailan nga ba kailangan i-file, no? Kailan nga ba kailangan i-file yung ano natin or i-remit yung taxes na to regarding amusement tax. So, ito daw ay payable within 20 days after close of the quarter. So, kung calendar year, ang first quarter, January to March, so, kailangan mabayaran mo daw after close of the quarter within 20 days. So, kung nagtapos ng March 31, edi April 20, kailangan mabayaran, ma-file yung mga taxes na to. Now, okay? So, pag sinabi palang gross receipts, ang tinutukoy dito ay lahat ng receipts of the proprietor, lessor, operator ng amusement place. So, said gross receipts also include income from television, radio, and motion pictures rights, if any man. Okay? So, hindi siya limited sa receipts lang regarding ano. Basta ito ay mga lahat ng collection ng mga cockpit, cabaret, etc., etc., subject siya sa tax rate na to. Now, so for example, page 227. So we have here sa cockpit, no? For example, nag-ooperate daw si X ng cockpit sa Makati. And then, may din daw siyang restaurant within that na operated din naman ni X. So ito daw yung mga receipts niya. From admission charges, receipts from advertisement, sale of foods and drinks in the restaurant, and then meron daw disbursement for purchased drinks and foods from VAT-registered suppliers. Okay? So, in that case, lahat ng mga collection niya magiging tax-based natin. Siyempre, yung disbursement hindi kasama kasi disbursement na yan. Okay? So, in that case, anong ay sasama natin? Edi 4 million, 2 million, tsaka 3.1. Sum mo lahat siya, times mo sa 18% kasi ito ay cockpit. Now, okay. Okay, so moving forward, so gross receipts daw from boxing exhibition. So, na-mention ko nga dito, 10% yon, 15% kapag basketball game. So, any receipts from the said premise or the said amusement place, dan siya subject. So, for example, G Coliseum. So, ibig sabihin, ito ay related sa basketball. So, sabi dito, si G Coliseum, madami siyang receipts. So, meron siyang concerts no? Kasi nga Coliseum naman siya. So may concert, 1 million, professional basketball, 2 million, amateur basketball, 3 million, and then billiard exhibition, we have 500,000. So ang tinatanong, magkano daw kaya yung business tax na kailangan natin computein? So in that case, ano ba lang dapat yung subject sa amusement tax? So in this case, si professional basketball lang. Kasi yun lang yung nandito natin, di ba? So yung professional basketball lang, so yung 2 million lang yon times 15%, yun yung business tax na related sa percentage tax. So yung other natin, like yung billiard, yung amateur basketball, tsaka si concert, si 1 million, 3 million, tsaka 500,000. So, siya na po ay subject na sa 12%. Kasi wala naman siya dito sa section 125, diba? So, in that case, ang magiging computation natin is yung 840,000, ay ang magiging computation natin is 4.5 times 12% plus yung 300,000 na kainan natin. Okay? So, in that case, yun yung magiging uh, value ng business tax natin, 840,000 pesos. Okay? So, kapag mga place of exhibition pala, like this two, no, hindi siya, lahat ng pinaka-collection mo. Lahat lang ng related dun sa exhibition na yon. Okay? Or sa basketball game. Kasi di ba dito kahit ano, pwede natin isama. So, dito sa exhibitions, place of exhibition na basketball, tsaka boxing exhibition, yung mga related lang talaga sa ganyang laro, okay? Or exhibition, yun yung magiging subject sa tax rates, no? So, again, filing ulit, no? Para hindi makalimutan. So, within 20 days after close of the quarter. Okay? So, next tayo. Wait lang, itaas ko lang yung... Ayan, para makita ko yung baba. Okay, so si Cinemas and Theater, kasama din siya si cinemas and theaters are not subject to VAT or amusement tax. Kasi wala naman siya doon, 'di ba? So kapag mga cinemas um and theaters, sila daw ay exclusively subject sa local amusement tax. Iba pa 'yun sa amusement tax na 'to. No. So, moving forward, okay na tayo dyan. So, Section 125A na tayo. So, sa Section 125A, ito naman ay gaming tax. So, sino ba yung covered nito? So, ang covered nito is yung mga services rendered ng mga OGL or offshore gaming licensees. So, tax base natin dito is yung mga gross gaming revenue or receipts or predetermined minimum monthly revenue or receipts from gaming, whichever is higher. So, ang tax base lang daw pala natin dito, whichever is higher kay gross gaming revenue or receipts or the predetermined na minimum na monthly revenue or receipts from the said gaming. So, yun yung tax base natin and then tax rate ay 5%. Okay? So, pag sinabing gross gaming revenue, ano ba yun? Paano ba yun compute? So, para makompute yun, gross wages less payouts. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yun yung mga nare-receive nung pinaka-offshore gaming licensee and then bawas yung mga binabayad niya sa pinaka naglalaro. No? So, yun yung gross gaming revenue niya. Okay? So, regulator fees. Ano ba yung bayad sa regulator fees? So, si regulator fees, so si PAGCORDA or any CEZ or Special Economic Zone, Tourism, or Freeport Authority may also impose regulatory fees of 2% on actual gross gaming revenue or receipts and similar related activities or predetermined minimum guaranteed fee, whichever is higher. Okay? So, Ibig sabihin, pwede palang bukod dito sa 5% na to, meron pang required na regulator fee. Na ang nag-ano naman nito, si PAGOR or si SES, hindi naman si BAR. No. So, moving forward, so si offshore gaming licensee, required daw sila mag-file and mag-remit ng gaming tax directly kay BIR within 20 days following end of the month. So, kung kanina natin, quarterly, so si gaming tax pala ay within monthly pala siya. Okay, si gaming tax natin. Okay. So, moving forward, proceed tayo sa next natin, which is si Section 126. Okay. Section 126 naman, ito yung next naman natin, Section 126 is winnings from horse races and high alay. Ibig sabihin, meron daw na nakuha or na-receive na palalunan from horse races and high alay. So, tax base natin dito, okay, kapag meron ka daw winnings or dividends, kung ikaw yung nagbe-bet, no? So pag nagkaroon ka ng winnings or dividends from horse races and high alive, 10% daw yung tax doon. And then kapag ikaw naman ay prizes of owners of winning race horses. Ibig sabihin, di ba at the same, meron kasi kapag merong horse race, nakakapanalo doon yung nagtumataya, pati yung may-ari ng horse. So kapag ikaw yung tumataya, 10% subject sa winnings mo, yun yung tax rate mo. While kapag ikaw naman yung may-ari ng winning or nanalong race horse, so meron ka dong price, so yung price mo doon subject din siya sa 10%. So either case, better ka man or owner of the winning race horse, 10% siya subject. Okay? Next, what if ang nangyari naman, meron kang winnings from double forecast, quinella, and trifecta bets. So, ganun pa rin. Better ka pa rin dito. So, ito naman, subject naman tayo dito sa 4%. Okay, so yan naman yung mga ano natin. That. Okay, so, moving forward, so ito daw, kung sino daw yung nanalo, sa kanya deductible. Yung uh, tax na yan, kung sino nanalo. So, deductible yun from the winner. And then, pag sinabing winnings, kasi di ba sinabi winnings yan? So, ang winnings, hindi siya yung pinaka napalalunan. Bawas po muna yung ticket cost. Okay? Yun yung winnings sa tinutukoy sa tax base natin. And then, eto daw, ang filing and remittance within 20 days from date tax was deducted. So, hindi siya katulad nung kainin natin na after the close of the month, 20 days, saka mo siya kailangan mabayaran. Etong sa winnings natin, ito ay within 20 days from the date tax was deducted from the winner. Okay, so yun yung filing and remittance date of the tax related to the winnings from horse races and high alay. Okay, so proceed tayo sa example, page 230. For example, si Astas Ticket Canela won 100,000. So, 100,000 yung initial winnings niya. Gross of withholding tax, so hindi pa naman withheldan, and cost of the ticket. So, hindi pa nababawas yung ticket. So, in a horse race at San Mateo Horse Racing, Asta paid 2,000 for the cost of the ticket. So, 100,000 winning minus 2,000 no cost of the ticket. Ang net winnings natin ay 98,000. So, kung 98,000 yung net winning, and then, di ba sinabi dito, ikaw yung may ticket. So, ikaw yung bettor. So, kung ikaw si bettor, and then, pag sinabi kasing, ano ba sabi dito? So, ikaw si bettor, and then ang winnings yun from the double forecast kinala and trifecta bets, hindi siya winnings or dividends. So, ito siya, ibig sabihin, 4% yung ano natin doon, tax rate. So, 4% times 98,000, that would be 3,920. So, kung 3,920 yung percentage tax on winnings, so kung 100,000 na palalunan mo, minus mo yung 3,920, ibig sabihin, ang net payout sa'yo ay 96,080. Okay? Okay, ibig sabihin, ganun yung scenario natin. So, sino nga ba yung nagde-deduct? Nagde-deduct ng tax kung sino yung operator nung competition. Nagde-deduct siya ng tax kay winner. And then, yung dineduct ng tax, i-remit niya yun kay BAR. So, yun yun. Yun yung nagiging scenario dito sa winnings na to. Now, okay, so moving forward, next na tayo, which is last na, which is C, section 127, which is it is the tax on sale, barter, or exchange of shares of stock listed and traded through the local stock exchange or through IPO or initial public offering. So if you can still remember, na-mention na natin to nung nag-talk about tayo sa capital gains tax kasi napahapyawan sila doon kasi related siya sa stocks. And na-mention natin siya before nung last semester, no? So in this case, ano ba yung mag-coverage natin? So yung kakasabi ko lang, yun yung pinaka-coverage natin. Sale, barter, or exchange ng shares, stock listed and traded through LSE or local stock exchange, or initial public offering other than sale of a dealer. So, sabihin, hindi dapat ang seller ay dealer. Kasi pag dealer yung seller, ibig sabihin, hindi na yun under this. Okay? So, dapat hindi dealer si seller. Now, so, tax base natin, gross selling price or gross value in money. So, yan. Ayan yung tax base natin. And then, ang rate natin ay 6/10 of 1%. Okay? 0.06. So, 6/10 of 1%. 0.006. If I'm not mistaken. So under that case, ang filing and remittance natin dito is Sabi dito, should be filed and paid by the seller or taxpayer within 5 banking days from the collection date. So, ganun kabilis dapat mabayaran siya. So, sabi dito, so for example, no, so na-mention na natin kung paano mangyayari. For example, noong 2023, Asta sold the following shares of stock. So si A company shares, binenta niya with selling price of 300,000 and cost of 100,000. And then sabi dito, sold directly to a buyer not traded. So hindi siya nag-under dito kasi dapat traded to, 'di ba? So wala na 'yan, yun yung kasama. So B company's shares with selling price of 400 and cost of 100 traded through PSE. So sabihin, tinrade siya through local stock exchange. So yung 400,000 kasama 'yan. Next, company's shares with selling price of 500 and cost of 120 through PSE. So, again, through PSE, so sabihin yung 500 kasama pa rin yun. So, 400 plus 500, that would be 900,000 times 6 over 10 times 1%. So, 5 for yung percentage tax natin. So, shares sold directly to the buyer are not subject to percentage tax. They are subject to capital gains tax. Pero since ang nangyayari nga dito, ang focus natin dapat through local stock exchange. Kasi kapag directly, capital gains tax yun. Na? Okay, so sabi dito, public offerings of shares of stock. So before daw yung train law, the following tax rates apply to initial public offering of shares. So dati kasi, no, before train law, so ganito, kapag nagbenta ka up to 25%, sabihin ganun ka, maliit lang naman, so ang IPO shares rates prior to train law, 4% yun. Sabihin, 4% multiply mo doon sa selling price. So, kapag over 25 pero not over 33 1/3, 2%. Well, kapag sobrang laki na nung binentang portion ng shares, 1% naman siya. Okay? Okay. Pero ngayon, after train law, nagkaroon ng scenario na kapag closely held daw yung corporation, kahit through IPO pa yan, hindi na siya subject sa percentage tax. Yun ay kung closely held. No? So, proceed tayo, page 232. So, for example, no, ang nangyari dito, meron daw closely held corporation decided to open itself the public. So, before the listing of its shares, assumption na closely held to and then before train law, ha. So, sabi dito, before the listing of its shares, in the local stock exchange, the corporation had 2 million shares outstanding. In the initial public offering, its new unissued shares have a selling price of 120 per share. During IPO, the corporation offered 800,000 shares. Ibig sabihin, 800,000 ibebenta niya. So, kung 2 million yung outstanding, magdadagdagan ng 800. Ibig sabihin, 800 over 2,800,000. Kasi yun, ibebenta mo 800. And then, kapag ipoperate mo siya, kung ilang percent pa yun, malamang dapat yung denominator mo, it includes the 800. So, 800 divided by 2.8 million. So, 28.57% yung ibibenta na bagong shares through IPO. So, kung 28.57, under siya dito, which is 2%. So, in that case, so 800 shares, di ba, ibibenta mo na at 120. So, that would be 800,000, so 96,000 times 96 million pala rather times 2%. So 1,920,000 yung percentage tax natin for that in that case. No, ang mahal no, 1,920 na dapat mabayaran within 5 banking days. Okay? Yun ay kapag through IPO na merong ganito nga under this scenario. Okay? Okay? Ayun tayo kapag IPO. Kasi kapag PSE, kung ano na yung amount, yun na yun. Pero pag IPO, meron pang gantong scenario. No? Okay? So, moving forward, moving forward, proceed tayo sa excise tax. So, very short lang tayo sa excise tax kasi most likely, ang pinakahirap lang tayo dito is yung rates, no? Pero the rest, same lang naman ng process yan. So, sa excise tax, ano ba sa excise tax? It is tax applied to goods manufactured or produced in the Philippines for domestic sale or consumption or for any disposition and to things imported as well as services performed in the Philippines. Ibig sabihin, ina-apply pala yung excise tax sa mga goods manufactured or kung hindi man manufactured is ginawa dito sa Philippines for domestic sales or consumption or for any disposition. And then sabi dito, two things imported. So, sabihin nila yung mga ginawa dito, pwede din yung mga in-import natin. Kaya di ba sa VAT on importation natin, may formula doon na si excise tax dinadagdag natin sa value para ma-compute yung VAT on importation. Si excise tax kasi dinadagdag doon. So, yung si excise tax is hindi lang siya sa goods here, but as well as yung mga imported goods natin. So, ano ba yung purpose bakit may excise tax? So, ang justification kung bakit ini-impose si imposition ng excise tax, so, ang scenario pala dito, no, pwedeng subject sa VAT and at the same time, subject din sa excise tax. Okay? So, sabi dito, justification. So, bakit ba nagkaroon ng excise tax? Ano bang purpose nan? So, sabi dito, to curtail consumption of commodities harmful to individual or community. So, para malimit daw yung pag-consume ng citizens ng mga harmful na commodities. Okay? So, example na yung mga alcoholic drinks, tobacco, etc., etc. So, kaya yun yung purpose ng excise tax para hindi sila bumili lang bumili. No? Kasi kaya nila minamahalan, tinataas yung excise tax. So, second, para maprotektahan yung domestic industry from foreign competitors. Okay? So, kaya may excise tax sa mga imported goods para maprotektahan yung domestic industry from foreign competitors. Kasi kung ikaw, alam mo na, ay, pag nag-import ka, mas malaki yung babayaran ko kasi may excise tax. E di magkakaroon ka na lang ng dito na lang ka bibili within the Philippines. So, yun yung number 2. Number 3, to distribute tax burden proportion to benefit derived from government services. So, kaya 'di ba ang nangyari, anong purpose daw? Para ma-distribute yung tax burden proportion to benefit derived from government service. So, example nito yung mga gasoline. So, 'di ba yung gasoline, sino ba yung mga nakakakayang bumili pa ng gasoline? Siyempre may mga sasakyan na mayayaman. So yung excise tax na binabayaran nila on the gasoline, etc., etc., is napupunta siya sa government na ginagamit naman for the betterment of all. So yun yung purpose ng number 3 natin. And then number 4, malamang sa malamang to raise revenue, 'di ba? Other way to raise revenue is to impose another form of tax. So, kaya meron tayong excise tax. So, si excise tax may dalawang kind siya, si specific tsaka si ad valorem, which is very much aware na tayo. So, pag specific tax, nakabase siya sa dami or unit of measurement nung goods na binibili mo or pinaproduce or in-import. Well, sa ad valorem naman is nakabase naman siya sa selling price. Magkano ba yung value? Okay? Selling price or other value of the goods. So, sa specific tax nakabase sa dami, sa bigat, sa kilo, kung ano man yan. Si ad valorem naman nakabase siya sa pinaka-total value or selling price ng certain goods. Kaya most likely, pag specific tax, naka per peso per unit measurement yung value na given dan. Well, kapag ad valorem naman, naka-percentage yan. Okay? Sino ba yung mga liable to file? So, si excise tax, it should be filed and paid to authorized agent banks, revenue collecting officer, or city or municipal treasurer in the Philippines. Okay? And then, take note na lang din, tax-free articles. So, sabihin yung mga hindi, mga exempt na articles. So, tax-free articles, imported. Mga in-import daw ng mga entities na in effect exempt daw from tax. Sabi dito, pag nag-import sila, hindi sila sinubject sa excise kasi nga exempt sila. So, pag binenta daw nila yon sa non-exempt, sila na yung makakonsider na importer. So, I think na-mention na natin to before. May gantong scenario din sa VAT eh. So, zero rated, if I'm not mistaken. So, kapag binenta mo daw siya sa non-exempt, sila daw na yung magiging na considered importer. And then sila na yung magiging liable for internal revenue taxes on importation. So, I think na-mention ko to before. Kaya gawa nung nag-discuss tayo sa importation. No? So, moving forward, sino ba yung liable to file? So, sabi dito, kailangan daw ng separate return for each place of production. Okay? Kailangan of separate filing for that. So, kapag indigenous gas yung tinutukoy na tax subject, no, si indigenous gas, ang kailangan daw magbayad lang ng excise tax is yung first buyer. Okay? Take note, yung first buyer lang. And then third, kapag exported products to be paid by owner. Kung sino man yung owner, yung lessee or operator ng mining claim. And then lastly, kapag for imported na articles, ang magbabayad naman doon is yung owner or yung importer. Sino ba yung nag-import? Okay? Yung importer, ano ba yon? So siya na yung liable na mag-ano. So para mas malinawan tayo, sino uli yung persons liable to excise tax? So, on domestic or local articles, ibig sabihin within the Philippines lang. So, ang mag-liable doon ay kung sino si manufacturer, si producer, owner processor of untaxed products. Kasi kung hindi pa natataksan, kung sino yung owner processor nun, siya dapat yung subject person liable to excise tax. And then fourth is doctor performing cosmetic procedures. Kasi di ba na-mention natin, hindi ang other pang example ng subject to excise tax is yung mga non-essential services under nun si cosmetic procedure. So, second, on imported articles, ibig sabihin, in-import natin from outside the Philippines. So, sabi dito, so ang sinong subject or liable to excise tax, sino yung nag-import? Sino yung owner? Or sabi dito, person who is found in possession of tax-exempt products other than those legally entitled to exemption. Diba na-mention ko kanina kung exempt si ganito kapag binenta niya kay second possessor, so pag binenta niya, hindi siya exempt, so siya naman yung magiging considered na importer liable to all internal revenue taxes. Next, indigenous petroleum or so sa kapag ganito naman yung scenario kapag local sale, barter or transfer ang nangyari, kung sino si first buyer, yun na mention ko nga kanina, or transferee, siya yung liable to excise tax. Well, kapag exportation naman, na-mention ko din to kanina, kasi sino yung under pa ng indigenous petroleum, so kung sino nag-owner, yung nag-rent or concessionaire or operator of the mining claim, siya daw yung magiging liable sa excise tax, no? Okay, next, time of payment. So, general rule, before removal from the place of production, bago mo siya ilipat, in case sa mga locally manufactured products, dapat mabayaran mo na muna si percentage tax. Yun yung general rule. Hindi pala percentage, excise tax pala. Second, before release. So, di ba mention natin to sa importation. Before ma-release sa customs custody, kailangan mabayaran si VAT on importation, including the excise taxes. Okay? So, exemption lang doon kapag, so sabi dan, exception doon at interval for particular class or classes of taxpayer kasi yung mga ganong scenario depende sa class mo ng taxpayer. And then under prepayment, pwedeng kailangan before ka magbayad, no? So under prepayment, advance deposit and other similar schemes. So pag merong mga other na naging kasunduan kung paano yung settlement, no? And then last exemption is within 15 days after the calendar quarter. Para saan daw? Para sa mga metallic minerals product. So, ganun yan yung rulings natin under time of payment sa excise tax. Okay? So, classification ng excisable products natin, we have alcoholic drinks or products. So, under section 141 to 143 yon. So, section 141, so, may mention naman natin yun mamaya. Section 141, ayan yung distilled spirit, 142, wines, and then fermented liquors yung 143. Tobacco products, yung mga sigarilyo. So, 144, Section 144, tobacco products. Section 145, ayun yung cigars and cigarettes. Section 146, ayun naman inspection fee. Petroleum products, Section 148. Section 149, ito naman yung miscellaneous articles such as yung automobiles, yung 149. And then si 150, under naman niya si non-essential goods and non-essential service, tsaka si sweetened beverages. So si 150, merong 150A, 150B, which is non-essential service, and then si sweetened beverages. And then lastly, section 151, I see mineral products. So I attached dun sa PDF, sa Excel, sa PPT natin kung ano yung link na pwede yung pagpuntahan para nandun lahat yung related sa excise tax under BAR website, no? Moving forward, so sa book natin, meron tayong mga rates dito, pero as late as 2018 lang yung nakalagay dito. So, not reflected pa yung any revisions in the tax code. So, dito nilagay ko na lang din yung mga rates natin. So, paano makakompute yan? E di kung magkano yung value, multiply mo lang sa kung ano yung rate, ayun yung ad valorem tax na excise. Kapag specific tax, ilan ba yung liter, multiply mo lang dun sa nakalagay dito sa table natin. So, most likely wala tayong kailangan masyadong i-discuss dito kasi ang ano lang dito is yung bulkness nung mga rates, no, at mga amounts. So, section 141, so ito yung distilled spirits natin. So, ito yung kapag ad valorem rates, given yung percentage, kapag specific tax, given yung amount. So, ito yung updated rate natin, 22 tsaka 66, no? So, sabi din, tataas daw yung specific tax rate, 6% every year. And then, itong ad valorem, consistent as of now. And then, next is wines. Ito daw ay specific tax na nakalagay dan kapag 500 pesos or less, 3, ang pinaka-current ay 63.12. So, actually sa lahat na pala ganun, 63.12. Mas maganda. Noong 2024, sinimplify siya. So, 63.12 lang siya. And then si fortified wines, more than 25%, yun daw ay tax as distilled spirit, which is tax as this one. No. Next, 143, ayun yung mga fermented liquors. So, ang pinaka-updated natin ay 43 na tataas by 6% next year. Okay? Next, tobacco product. So, ayan. So, per kilo to, nakalagay sa letter A natin. Then, per pack sa letter B, yung mga heated tobacco. And then, letter C, vapor product. So, in effect, most likely, specific tax, si Section 144. So, ito yung mga rates natin. Pwede nyo na lang siya i-simplify kasi pare-parehas naman yung ibang products, no? Ito yun. Hindi ka na lang dyan. Na, so, ito yung mga increase niya for that year 2025. Section 145, ito naman ay related sa cigars and cigarettes. So, ito, ayan, may ad valorem tayo dito sa per cigar. 20% siya currently. Kapag specific tax, 7.75. Cigarettes naman, ayan, so pag pack by hand or pack by machine, same lang naman. 63 siya kapag, ayan, 63 siya per pack. Okay? Mahal ah. So, moving forward, so, next, section 146 pa din, inspection fee naman. Ito, specific tax lang siya, and then, minurge ko na lang yung mga certain rates na same naman, no? Okay, so ganun na siya. Okay? Next, petroleum products. So, yan. So, minurge ko na lang din yung mga pare-parehas na letters. So, consistent naman siya, no? Hindi naman siya nagbago from 2022 to 2024. So, yung mga lubricating oil, processed gas, 10 pesos per unit siya. And then si kerosene, 5 pesos per liter. Si turbojet fuel, kerosene for aviation, 4 pesos siya per liter. And then tong diesel fuel oil for generating power per kilogram or liter, 6 pesos. And then liquefied petroleum gas per kilogram, 3 pesos yung excise tax. And then yung mga liquefied petroleum as a raw material, petroleum coke as feedstock. So ito daw ay zero. Wala naman daw siyang amount. No? So next natin ay yan, section 149, automobile. So ayan, so depende kung magkano yung binili mo na. Ayan, so naka-base siya sa net manufacturers or importers selling price, kung magkano yung selling price, ad valorem to, no? So, kapag up to 600,000 yung amount niya, 4% yung excise tax nun. So, pag mas mahal lalo yung binili mo, so pag 4 million daw yung binili mo automobile or lagpas sa 4 million rather, so 50% nun ay excise tax. Grabing mahal. While si hybrid naman, 50% of applicable excise tax rate case kung ano yung daan. And then purely electric and pick-up, so exempt daw yun kapag mga electric or pick-ups. No. Non-essential goods, example ng jewelries, perfumes, and toilet waters, yate, mga other vessels intended for pleasure. So ito daw ay 20%. Okay, 20% based on the wholesale price or the value of importation used by the BOC in determining tariff and customs duties net of excise and value-added tax. So yan, yung mga non-essential goods, yung mga jewelries, kaya mas mahal yan kasi meron yung mga excise tax, no? And then, non-essential services, ay yung mga invasive cosmetic procedure, yung mga surgeries, etc., na for pleasure lang naman or for beautification. So, 5% daw nun, based on gross receipts from performance of service, yun daw yung excise tax. No? And then, next, 150B, sweetened beverages. So, ito yung ayan, mga non-caloric sweeteners, mga corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, etc. So, yung mga yan, per liter of volume capacity, 612. Exempt yung pag-coconut sap, sugar, and purely stevia glycoside. So, 6 and 12, tsaka exempt. No? And then, lastly, mineral products. Okay, so sa mineral product, so tingnan naman natin. So consistent naman siya for 2020 to 2024. So kapag domestic and imported coal and coke, 150 per metric ton 'yon. And then kapag non-metallic minerals and quarry, kapag locally extracted, 4% based actual market value. While kapag import naman, magkano ba yung sa value niya sa BOC? 4% nun yun. And then kapag locally extracted natural naman na gas, exempt yun. Dahil kapag metallic mineral, 4% din siya. Kapag locally extracted, based sa actual market value. Kapag imported naman, edi 4%. Pero sa base sa value ni BOC in determining customs duties, etc. And then kapag indigenous petroleum, so 6% of the fair international market price on the fair sale, barter exchange, or such similar transaction, such tax to be paid by the buyer before removal from the place of production. So 6% naman siya base sa fair international market price. Okay? So yun lang basically yung classification excisable tax natin. Hati-hati lang siya sa 5. And then may iba-iba lang na rates, no? Yung iba ad valorem, yung iba specific depending on whatever case. So next natin, on Wednesday, we will be discussing the documentary stamp tax, and we will be trying the exercises and then other exercises for plus points. Baka by group activity na lang siguro. Hopefully kayanin ng oras. So yun yung agenda natin by Wednesday. We will be finishing the documentary stamp tax and examples for percentage, documentary stamp, tsaka excise tax. Okay? So that would be all, class. See you on Wednesday. Thank you.